Another day and another disaster for the Denver Broncos. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside of Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael. Presented as always by WinBet. Glad to have you with us. Man, B-Marsh, it just continues to be terrible football from the Denver Broncos. Last night, it was courtesy of D'Ernest Johnson. Let's get into what's on Marshall's mind. What's on Marshall's mind, presented by First Bank, banking for good. D'Ernest Johnson running all over the Broncos. B-Marsh, what did you take away from yesterday's loss, a fourth consecutive loss for the Denver Broncos?
Well, look, I mean, when it rains, it pours. But I would say what's on my mind is whoever's out there listening, all right, call John Elway. Tell them that I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready to go. I've been training. I haven't stopped training. They need help, and it's looking ugly because they let somebody named D'Ernest Johnson, who nobody knew about, the third-string running back, run for 140 yards on one of the best defenses, or supposedly one of the best defenses in the NFL. I'm shocked. And the word you used to open up the show is disaster. This has been a disaster.
Yeah, it's really bad. And hey, look, props to D'Ernest Johnson, right? Because the guy had his opportunity. No Kareem Hunt, no Nick Chubb. He comes in, and I thought he was fantastic. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him. This is a dude who's got a fantastic story. Back in 2018, he was working on a fishing boat. In 2019, he was playing in the AAF, which is now defunct. And now he finds himself in prime time Thursday night running for 140 yards on the Denver Broncos. But Brandon, this run defense, and we've talked about this in previous weeks, it felt like this was one of the issues for the Broncos, and obviously it reared its ugly head yesterday. Yeah. I think this is in levels, right? Not only do the Broncos need to call you, because now they need some big-time help at inside linebacker, and it didn't hurt that Micah Kiser goes down last night, and they have to bring in Robinson, who is a rookie out of Stanford and a dude who they probably did not expect to be playing a lot of football for this team in Curtis Robinson. But the defensive line has been an issue. And guys who they invested a lot in Draymond Jones and Shelby Harris and Mike Purcell, they have been surprisingly bad to me. And that was the thing that showed up last night. There were massive holes all over the place in that run game.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna put the blame on the interior line, just like you said, and the linebackers. I mean, the interior line they're not as stout as they need to be, right? You watch the game, and like you said, there's holes. And the Browns, historically, they have a good offensive line, right? The Browns definitely have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, but I mean, you know, we're getting paid too, right? Those guys are getting paid as well. So they got to be more stout, more nasty, you know what I'm saying? And then the linebackers, as far as filling the gap and taking on blocks and shedding, they did not do that last night. It looked ugly on some of those runs, on most of those runs, to be honest with you. But the interior line is not helping the linebackers, right? The linebackers are not helping the safeties that come up and fill. And, you know, it's a team game, right? It's a team sport at the end of the day. So team defense, you know, is predicated upon everybody doing their job. Right. So D-line have to be stout. They have to teams. It is what it is. It's a tough job, but they got to do it. And it's looking ugly. I don't know what's going on. Shelby is still, you know, one of the better players on the defense, but it looks like they're falling apart.
You know what was interesting last night? It was after the game, Shelby Harris comes out and he meets with the media. He's like, look, we got to get back to having fun. And he said, and I quote, I want to get this right, we're so caught up in our losses that we're losing sight of the fun. And he was asked, does that mean you guys are pressing? And he shut down that question and tried to move on. And I was in the room and I asked him, I was like, what does it take to get back to having fun? And he was like, you know, even when you make plays, like you got to celebrate. And they're not having fun. They look like a team that knows that they are struggling, that knows that they should be better, and it doesn't really have any answers right now as to why they are struggling. And I think they're running out of solutions in terms of how they can get better.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I mean, look, it's football, it's a game, but this is still a business, right? This is the NFL, and where you get fired for losing. So how can you really have fun if you know that I might not be here next week? You know, we lost 4 games in a row. I might not have my job, right? The head coach knows he's on the hot seat. I might not have my job. And Vic Fangio, first of all, is he's not a fun guy anyway. He's not a guy that creates he doesn't create a great atmosphere. And I know that because I went to talk to him before the Broncos let me go. And I just wanted to talk to him, get a gauge, maybe see what he's looking for out of a linebacker, And he's just kind of a stale guy, right? He's very stale. So I'm pretty sure he's not creating a fun environment. He's not a fun guy. So, I don't know what they need to do, but they have to win because it's a business at the end of the day. So it's a billion-dollar business where people get paid to do their jobs and do it well, but ultimately they get paid to win. So yes, we want to have fun, but if you're losing, how can you have fun?
Well, and that's the question, right? Is like, and what's funny is even when guys make plays, they're not reacting like, hey, that was a heck of a play. They're not running around. They're not flying around. Like, I think back to that 2015 defense, man. And obviously you guys made a ton of plays, but every time you guys made a play, you were having fun. You were reacting to that. Even like last night, Shelby Harris blocks a field goal, right? And it's 10-0. I thought at the time it was a really big play in the game. Yeah. You didn't see a lot of excitement. It was more like, okay, cool. Oof, almost like relief. Right. Yeah. And the difference between relief and fun. And I don't know what they need to do moving forward to try and mix it up and try and have more fun. But even when the offense makes a big play, which is few and far between, it's more like, okay, thank goodness. Now let's go back into the huddle and try and do it again rather than excitement. And that's a weird kind of place for them to be in right now.
You know what, Mike? I'm gonna blame it could be on team chemistry, right? So when 2015, yes, we were winning, but we all liked each other. That was probably the closest team I've ever been to in my life. Everybody hung out. We all liked each other. We all celebrated each other's wins, right? Celebrated each other's plays, whatever we did. It was amazing. And to have that cohesiveness within our team, it showed on the field. It looks like the team chemistry is off. I think we as far as the first 3 games go, when they won those 3 games, it was just against really bad teams. It's just what it is, right? It was against really bad teams. And so now they're playing the better part of the schedule. And you're seeing that this team, they're not who we thought they were, right? And even me and you, we were still a little worried. More so you were a little worried about this team. I was still on like, okay, they look good. Defense looks good. Tate looks good. Oh my God. It has completely did a 180. It looks terrible. The team chemistry is not there. That's probably why, like you said, because if Shelby makes a play, if he blocks a punt or blocks a field goal, I'm going to celebrate with Shelby. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited, man. This is supposed to be, we're a family. Football is family is one of the sayings, and it doesn't look like a family.
No, it certainly doesn't. And, last year it was the COVID year. And so everybody kind of blamed it on that. And it was hard for guys to connect. This year, there isn't really that excuse. And you're not seeing that transcend. And I love your point there at 2015. Like everybody supported everybody. And you guys hung out, right? Like Club 58 was a thing. I remember being in the locker room and obviously we don't have that type of access. But from the outside, when guys are standing around and they're playing Connect 4 or whatever it was that you guys were doing, playing cards. And it was, I have to imagine it's a totally different vibe inside that locker room this year.
Gotta be. And the product shows on the field.
Yeah, for sure. On the other side of the ball, Brandon, this offense, it feels like it's deja vu all over again, and we can't get anything out of them, and they can't get anything going. And we sit here and we talk about slow starts. They continue to be an issue for this team. Teddy Bridgewater, okay, yes, he was probably not 100% last night and didn't look right. Whatever they got going offensively in the second half worked pretty well. They had 3 possessions. They scored a touchdown, went 3 and out, and then scored a touchdown, and that was it. They didn't get the ball back, which was in part due to the defense. But this offense, Brandon, continues to struggle and continues their slow starts. Yeah. And it seems like they have no answers on any side of the football right now. And that continues to be an issue. And even when they meet with the media after games, they talk about, we got to start faster. Well, what do you need to do to start faster? Well, we don't know. And that's a major, major issue.
Yeah. I mean, starting fast, in my opinion, starts in practice, right? You come out, You come out of the, out of the locker room, the first periods, you getting it going. Your mind is there and you on it, right? It's tough to start fast all the time. Like, that's tough to really work on. You can only work on it in practice. And so, yes, this offense looked better in the second half. They finally made some adjustments that looked pretty good. It's funny because I seen a tweet yesterday, and I think it was a reporter from Denver. I'm not sure if it was Kisler or somebody, and it said, just give Locke a chance. And then Shannon Sharp put, a chance to do what? Right? So it's not even a quarterback. This team is hurt, right? They're hurt, and the offensive play calling is not innovative at all. It's bare minimum, it's basic. And this team is hurt, so that's a recipe for disaster. How can they truly win when they're hurt and they have basic play calling? And it's just, and then one, they're not having fun either. This team could really, I'm not going to say they're not going to win another game, but it's trending in that direction because of all the injuries that this whole team has faced and, some coaching.
You mentioned the offensive play calling, and we talked a little bit about this last week. And the question that everybody is asking is it time to fire Pat Shurmur? And you and I kind of touched on that. And I'm a guy, I'm really reluctant to call for people's jobs.
Yeah.
But Brandon, when I look at this and I look at the points per game, Broncos are averaging 20 points per game right now. Below them, the Steelers, the Jags, the Giants, the Lions, the Dolphins, the Bears, the Texans, and the Jets. That's it.
Wow.
That's the company that you're keeping right now.
Right.
And is that the company that you want to be in ever in the NFL?
Hell no. You want to be the company of the Jets.
Yeah, you're talking about perennial bottom dwellers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go back to last year. Was it any better last year? No. They averaged 20.2 points per game. The only teams that they were better than, the Bengals, the Jags, the Giants, and the Jets.
Are we becoming those teams? I think we're already there.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Because when you look at the NFL, right, you see, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the Steelers, right? These teams, okay, these are good teams. And the Broncos have always been in that for the most part, right? But it seems like, now do they even respect the Broncos anymore?
No. Would you?
Broncos? Nah, I wouldn't. Absolutely not.
And here's the thing, and here's the point about Pat Shurmur, and I mentioned I'm always reluctant to call for guys' jobs. You've changed quarterbacks over the last year. You've changed running backs. You got rid of Phillip Lindsay, and now you got Javonte Williams in there alongside Melvin Gordon. You don't have much left to change. Yeah. You're continuing to get the same result.
Right.
Your 17 points per game in 2019 wasn't good enough with Rich Scangarello.
Yeah.
Yet Vic Fangio, when asked yesterday, will you consider a change? Now would be the time to do it. You got 10 days before your next game. He immediately shot it down and said no. I don't understand why not. And if you're reluctant to fire Pat Shurmur, okay, keep him on as the figurehead for the offensive coordinator, maybe change the play calling duties. Or go to Pat Shurmur if you don't want to fire him and say, hey, look, you have to do something different because whatever you're doing right now is not working. As bad as the defense was yesterday, they did hold Washington to just 17 points.
17.
Excuse me, not Washington, Cleveland. I don't even know what city I'm in right now as I sit in the hotel room. They held Cleveland to 17 points, and your offense still couldn't compete with that.
Look, so on the goal board, right, each week in the defensive room, they say, okay, we have different goals, weekly goals. 17 points, if you hold a team to 17 points, you should win the game. That's a goal of ours, right, to hold a team to 17 points. So all in all, yes, we could speak about the run defense and X, Y, and Z, but they did hold them to 17 points. And as far as going back to Pat Shurmur, or, if Vic telling him to, change the plays, or I think we just need a fresh set of eyes, a fresh mind, right? It's almost like what happened with the Raiders. John Gruden calling the plays. They have Greg Olsen, right? But John Gruden's calling the plays. What he says goes in that building. John is really the only one that really has an opinion. You take John Gruden out of the situation, right, out the scenario. You got Greg Olsen, a fresh set of eyes, different mind. Now you got Derek Carr putting his input in, from what I hear. And look what it put up 30 on the Broncos. I mean, sometimes you need that. I'm not sure who they would go to outside of Pat, who would be the next guy up, but I mean, something
they have options, right? And you have to think, at least try. I mean, at this point, you're kind of grasping for straws, but at least try. Whether it's Zach Azzani, whether it's Mike Munchak, at least try, I think would be the thought there, and see if that different set of eyes can get you something. We got to take a break here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WynnBET. When we come back, I did see something last night that gives me the slightest bit of hope for that Broncos offense. I'll tell you what that is, plus out some grades. Oh, the report card section. I have a feeling this one's going to be rough. We'll talk about all that and more next, right here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WynnBET. Back here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WynnBET. And Brandon, I saw something yesterday that gave me the slightest bit of hope for the Broncos offense. And I got to be honest, right? Like, I prefer to keep things glass half full. I like to keep things on a positive note. And when it comes to the Broncos, there haven't been a lot of things that, at least not offensively, that can be positive. But Jerry Jeudy was out warming up yesterday. The clock has started on his return for IR. There is hope, and I think he's certainly trending in the right direction and in a positive direction. It looks like he will be back on the field sooner rather than later. I don't think he's the cure-all for this Broncos offense, but we did see in training camp and early in the season, Teddy Bridgewater has a really good rapport with Jerry Jeudy. And when he comes back, he gives this Broncos offense, specifically obviously in the passing game, a different dynamic. So from a defensive standpoint, what kind of pressure can Jerry Jeudy's return put on defense, and how can he help this Broncos offense when he does indeed return to the field?
Look, Jerry Jeudy is already one of the best route runners in the NFL. You've seen all the videos, all the highlights, the feet, the hip. It's ridiculous. It's probably extremely hard to cover that guy. He's going to get open.
Yeah.
It's going to help the Broncos offense because he's going to get open. It gives, now I'm not saying, look, Cortland's a reliable receiver, right? Tim Patrick is a reliable receiver. Noah Fant is reliable, but for them to have that rapport, right? For Teddy and Jeudy to have that rapport, man, and especially somebody who will be in the slot, I'm sure he'll be in the slot. I would put him in the slot because you got Cortland on one side, Tim on the other side. And put Jerry Jeudy in the slot because of his shiftiness. He's so quick. He's going to get open. He's, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to have confidence in, okay, I'm going to throw the ball to Jeudy right now because he's going to find a way, find a window. So this is going to help the offense tremendously. Teddy is probably praying for his return. He can't wait to have that guy back.
Yeah. And a guy who can, if you need, take the top off the defense a little bit, right? And maybe open some things up underneath, depending upon how they use him and if they use him properly. Which
I'm not gonna lie. In my 3 receiver set, I would put him in the slot and have him go to work on those slot corners or those linebackers or those safeties, and he will go to work.
And he's a guy who will get probably 7 targets a game. You know what I mean? Because I think obviously with that rapport and with the connection that they have, he should get 7 targets a game when he returns. So there's hope, Broncos country. There's hope. We'll see if it actually turns into fruition. Right. Like we chuckle. You know what I mean?
Just trying to find we're trying to hold on to
give you something.
You're trying to grab anything. Like,
yes. It's like last week when we were grabbing, like, well, at least the Browns are injured. Maybe that gives the Broncos some hope. Well, of course, we saw how that turned out. Did not matter. All right, let's get into our report card for today. Report card brought to you by Flock Homes. Smarter rental property ownership starts here. Visit flockhomes.com to learn more. Professor Marshall, who are we giving out grades to today?
Yeah, so it's not a lot of football that we've seen from the Broncos that's inspiring, right? I mean, obviously you got Justin Simmons. He's athletic. He's a ball hawk. He gets turnovers, but the person that's inspiring me right now is Javonte Williams. And he runs inspired, he plays inspired, he runs hard, and that's the type of guy that you need on your team to lead by example, right? We watch this guy play, I'm like, yo, this guy, he has something special. So I'm gonna give him a B, just based off how inspiring he is and how he's inspired me just by watching him. And hopefully, even though he's a rookie, he can lead by example, and other guys can see how hard he plays and the type of tenacity that he plays with, and they will model.
He's a guy that brings it every single play. And when he gets his hands on the ball, you feel like good things are going to happen, right? Because he has that kind of spark. He has that kind of burst. I really hope that he doesn't hit a rookie wall here coming up, and I am a little bit worried about that. I think it's nice the way the schedule kind of sets up is that you have kind of a long week this week, obviously heading into next week against Washington. Then you have the bye week coming up in a couple weeks. But he's a guy who I feel like can be a real star for this team. Not only the rest of this year, but obviously moving forward. I really, really like that pick. I'm going to give a grade to Jonathan Cooper last night, and I'm going to give him a B. He was not happy with himself based on the plays that he felt like he could have made yesterday. Ended up with 3 quarterback hits. The one of only 3 rookies. I beg your pardon. I think it's rookies, but you got Bradley Chubb, you got Von Miller, you got Doomerville, and Draymond Jones in there. So, I mean, an impressive game for Cooper last night. Had an opportunity to maybe bump that grade up to an A. But I think that this is a good sign of things to come, especially for a guy that you got late in the draft, because he was everywhere last night, had a big impact, could have had a little bit of a bigger impact, but hopefully a bright spot for that Broncos defense moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, we got to find some type of spark. We got to find some guys that are going to play inspired, right? In spite of all the recent lack of success. So we need guys. We got to find the best 11 out there. And I think it's going to be tough. I think the Broncos got some soul searching to do at inside linebacker. The guys that are already on the roster, they know the playbook, obviously, but they need some help. They need some help, man. I'm hoping Micah Kiser isn't out too long with that groin, but Vic Fangio's defenses have famously had 2 great inside linebackers: Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman, Danny Trevathan, right, Roquan Smith. Though, look, this defense needs linebackers, solid inside linebackers, and without them, I don't see how they can be successful.
Yeah, and I know there was a lot of Broncos country who was down on Josie Jewell. Boy, what they wouldn't give to have Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson back in the lineup right now. When we come back here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, we'll look ahead to Sunday. Which team could really make a statement with an upset win this Sunday? We'll talk about all that and more when Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented by WinBet, returns right here on CBS in Denver. Back inside Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael, presented as always by WinBet. Glad to have you with us as we continue to recap yesterday's debacle in Cleveland as the Broncos fall to the Browns and have now lost 4 straight. Let's quickly go around the league, brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on this exciting lineup ever. Shop NissanUSA.com. B-Marsh, the schedule for the NFL this week is kind of whack. There's a bunch of big, ugly, nasty spreads on the game, a bunch of games that should be blowouts. However, there are a couple games, one in particular, the Chiefs visiting the Titans this week on a short week for Tennessee after coming up with a big win on Monday against Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, look, Derrick Henry is on pace for what? Another 2,000-yard season. You can't stop the guy. First of all, how is he that big and that fast?
Dude, when he broke loose on that 76-yard touchdown run, holy smoke.
It is ridiculous, right? And he's that durable. Yes, he's big. He's big body. Kind of reminds me of Steven Jackson, right? It kind of reminds me of a Jackson-type player. Not as shifty, because I feel like Steven Jackson, he was big, but he had a little wiggle to him. But Derrick Henry, you can't stop him. You can't bring him down. And the Chiefs' defense is awful. It's horrendous. I'm ready to see this. I feel like the Titans might go to work.
I feel like every time somebody goes to tackle Derrick Henry, it's a business decision.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like,
100%. Now, as a linebacker, right? And you got to have, like, look, your pride is, because I'm a backer, right? I'm supposed to be able to stop anybody. But it's still, you see him coming through that hole. I never got a chance to play him, which I regret. I've always wanted to play him and Le'Veon Bell just to see what the hype was around Le'Veon. But I'm pretty sure once you see Derrick coming in that hole and it's just you and him, it's a little fear in your mind.
You gotta go low. You gotta go low, right?
I don't know, man. Because my linebacker coach Reggie Herring in Denver, he would be mad if I went low. I gotta go high just because off the strength that I'm a linebacker too. You know what I'm saying? I got to. And if I get ran over, I'm like, look, hey, at least I stuck my neck out there.
At least I went high and tried to keep.
Next time, I'm going low.
The other game I'm watching this week is the Bengals and the Ravens, and I'm interested to see Cincinnati. And I actually picked the Lions to cover last week, which was a terrible pick by me because Cincinnati came out. I know. As soon as I made the bet on the Lions, I was like laughing at myself, like I can't believe I'm actually betting on the Detroit Lions, and then it ended up being a laugher of the game. But I can the Bengals actually do something here against the Ravens, or will the Ravens continue to prove their dominance as they have? I think this is a big spot for the Bengals, who feel like a team that really wants to be in the mix and feel like a team that really wants to prove that they're legit. And I think this week they have a really big opportunity to do that if they can beat the Ravens. I'm not saying that they will, but I'll be interested to see how that game plays out.
We'll find out if they're for real. This is the game, because the Ravens are definitely atop the AFC or one of at least the top 3 teams in the AFC easily right now. So we'll see if the Bengals come in and they play. Look, it's a division game anyway, so I'm expecting a game. But if they beat the Ravens, it's like, okay, so now we got to talk about the Bengals now.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even if they just keep it close, right? Yeah. Like even if they just kind of cover the spread, which I think is at 6 right now, if they just keep it close and make it a field goal game, I'll be impressed with Cincinnati if they are able to, especially in Baltimore. Let's get to our sneak peek. Sneak peek brought to you by UC Health with personalized care in locations across Colorado. UC Health is here for you, no matter where your story takes you. UC Health, live extraordinary. Let me ask you this. We'll talk about the Washington football team here in a second, but what's the most important thing in your mind for the Broncos players to do as they have kind of this short bye week, obviously coming off a short week and a Thursday night game? They've got a little bit of time before they head back to the facility and start preparing for Washington. What's the most important thing for them to do over the next 10 days?
Well, I think 2 things. One is they got to get their bodies because it's a lot of injuries. It's the injury bug is going around that locker room, right? So guys got to get a lot of treatment. They got to rest and recuperate. Number 2, they got to do some soul searching. They got to do some soul searching individually and find out, who am I? 1, okay? Then who do I want to be? That's number 2. All right, okay. And now I know that's who I want to be. Okay, how can I get there? How can I get there? Because each individual has to do their part, right? And be the best versions of themselves for the team. So soul searching is needed, okay? Then as a team, we got to soul search. You're like, okay, this is who we are right now. This is where we want to be. How can we get there? Sorry, it's my dog. Whether we need to switch up practice. So this is what we did. I know this is a high school level, right? I'm speaking from a high school level. We were losing. We were about 2-3. Okay, not 2-3. I'm sorry. We were 1-2. Okay, we were losing. We would lose to every good team, and then we would beat the bad teams, right? So then we ended up 2-2, but it wasn't good. So we had to switch up the practices to make it more competitive. Like, it was competition based almost every period. It's a winner and a loser. Loser has to do sprints, whatever. I know you're not making NFL plays, but figure something out.
Yeah.
Make practice more lively. Make it more competitive. Make it more, okay, cool, this is a competition. We have to win, right? Every period is a must win, So whether you make the scout team, you give incentive to the scout team, or you give, incentive to the defense or the offense. I mean, figure something out. I mean, sheesh.
Yeah, it's funny, as I listen to you and to your dogs in the background, I don't know what's going on at B-Marsh house this morning, but as I listen to you talk about, I'm here and I want to be here, I feel like that is such a wide gap for this team right now between where they are and where they want to be. A lot of soul searching required this week for sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What's crazy too is as we look ahead to the Washington football team, obviously they played this week, and so we'll know a little bit more about them after that game, but that feels like a winnable game because their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
And so if ever there were an opportunity, and I feel like we've said that before, like we said that last week. Well, we said that a couple weeks ago. They're going to play Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's not very good. This is an opportunity for the Broncos. Oh, they're going to play Cleveland. Cleveland's banged up. This is an opportunity for the Broncos. Oh, they're playing the Raiders. Raiders are without their head coach. They got all sorts of drama. Opportunity for the Broncos. Womp, womp, womp on every single one of those.
Exactly.
But, this is a Washington football team that, as of now, allows the most points in the league at 31 points per game. They give up the second most yards per game in the NFL. Yet I still don't have a lot of faith that the Broncos offense can come out and put up numbers against them.
Because the offense is bad. The offense is bad. It's bad, man. And it's going to be a tough matchup for those tackles, right? You got Chase Young, Montez Sweat. Look, yes, they're a terrible defense, but they still have a good D-line, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still get to the quarterback. So we got to be on point with that. But, I mean, I'm hoping, like you said, right, they give up the most points. This is hopefully Judy can come back in 10 days.
Yeah.
And give us some work out there, right? Because we're going to need him. Then maybe we'll have a chance.
Yeah.
and only.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's man, some uphill sledding. Hopefully some soul searching works. And hopefully the Broncos can figure out that gap between where they are and where they want to be, because it is more than a mile high wide. That is for sure. Hey, that's going to do it for us here on Upon Further Review with B-Marsh and Michael. From our partner, Brandon Marshall, I'm Michael Spencer. Thanks, as always, for hanging out with us. Thanks to all of our sponsors, including WynnBET, our big sponsor. And we will see you not this coming Monday, but 1 week from Monday after the Broncos play the Washington football team. All right, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Check it out.